It's on like Donkey Kong. The Savages of Cymiae may be aesthetically my favorite faction in the game. For those who aren't aware, the Savages of Cymiae are one of the 34 new factions added to the game by the Discordant Stars expansion, which is community made for the record. I personally think, overall, the new factions added are as good as the ones in the actual game, with perhaps a couple of them feeling slightly unbalanced. But the same can be said about the 25 official factions. To me, Discordant Stars feels like exactly what I wanted. More TI4 factions and more variation to the game. But enough about that. Here is the definitive guide to playing and winning with the Savages of Cymiae. Let's start by analyzing their faction abilities. First is autonetic memory. When you would draw one or more action cards, you may draw one less card to either choose one card from the action card discard pile and add it to your hand, or place one infantry from your reinforcements on a planet you control. Second, cybernetic madness. After you add an action card from the discard pile to your hand using your autonetic memory faction ability, you must discard one action card. After you fully resolve an action card's ability text, purge that card instead of discarding it. In simple terms, whenever you would draw an action card or cards, you may draw one less to either draw an action card from the discard pile or place down an infantry on a planet you control. Cybernetic Madness is the next step if you take an action card from the discard pile, where you discard one action card and purge the one you drew from the discard pile after using it. Basically, you can only take an action card out of the discard pile once, so you can't repeatedly use flank speed or morale boost the entire game. Pretty cool ability. It'll make your opponents wary to use powerful action cards because they know you can use it next. You could theoretically use any action card twice. Not bad. On to their leaders. First is their agents. Kahat Unit X12. Watcher, whose ability reads, when a player discards or purges an action card, you may exhaust this card to allow that player to draw one action card. This gives you a second opportunity to draw an action card, or to use your faction abilities to draw one from the discard pile. A perfect accompaniment to their aforementioned abilities. Second is their commander, Coral Ferax, the third voice, who is unlocked by having 10 or more infantry on the board. After you gain control of a planet during a tactical action, you may discard one action card to place or move one mech onto that planet. This is quite good considering you'll likely have a few lousy action cards that you don't mind discarding, and even if you discard a decent one, you'll always be able to get it back with their faction ability. Last is their hero, the Voice United, Psionic Maelstrom. I hope I said that properly. Unlocked by having 3 scored objectives: the Scream, Symphony of Agony, Action. Draw and reveal a number of action cards from the action card deck equal to one more than the number of players in the game. Give one to each other player in the game and keep the rest. Each other player must discard one action card, then purge this card. One of the worst heroes in the game. There may be a rare situation where the luck of the draw action cards are game changing, like in the Silence of Space card or something, but that doesn't change the fact that you have to give out action cards. What if they're all good and you're forced to help your opponents? If I'm missing something, let me know in the comments. The Savages have a silverback gorilla for a mech. Revenant reads, at the start of each ground combat round, if this planet contains no more than one of your mechs, repair this unit. So you're incentivized to spread your mechs out and just have one on each planet, so they can sustain damage every combat round. Trust me, you won't need more than one per planet when you see their infantry. Speaking of which, the Savages have 2 faction techs. The first is a yellow tech with 1 yellow prereq, called Recursive Worm. It reads, at the start of your turn, you may exhaust this card to choose one non-home system, other than Mechatol Rex, that contains one or more of your units. Place one other player's command token from their reinforcements in that system. So, a mini diplomacy ability. The scope and strategic implications of this tech are massive. You can be such a bad neighbor by taking your opponent's planets and making it hell for them to reclaim them. Don't let this tech get outshined by the flashier elements of their kit. This tech is top tier. Speaking of the flashier elements of their kit, we have their second faction tech, which is their unique faction unit, Unholy Abomination, which costs 1. Note that you can only build 1 for the cost of 1 instead of the typical 2. Combat is a whopping 5. It upgrades with 2 green prereqs to Unholy Abomination 2, best possible name for an infantry by the way, It costs 1 and hits on 4. It reads, after this unit is destroyed, roll 1 die. If the result is 6 or greater, place the unit on this card. At the start of your turn, place each unit that is on this card on a planet you control, if able. Without a doubt, the strongest infantry in the game, and it's not even close. I mean, a typical infantry hits on 8, and a mech hits on 6. This is balanced out by you only being able to build 1 per 1 cost. But if you get plenty of these down on a planet, any invasion will be hopeless. They'll have to rely entirely on bombardment. Get a PDS down, and your enemies can forget about taking the planet unless they have War Suns out and ready to go. But even then, you can stifle their effectiveness with your recursive worm tech. This is definitely a really cool unit, but it's a fair question to ask if having exceptionally strong infantry is related at all to winning games. They can be killed by bombardment without ever having the chance to roll. And factions like L1, Z1X, Mindnet, and Sardak Nor can counter these guys pretty hard, as does the X89 bacterial weapon tech, if anyone actually decides to research it. Their faction promissory note, Algorithmic Replication, reads, action. Choose 1 action card from the action card discard pile and add it to your hand. Then, purge this card. So another player gets to use your ability and draw from the discard pile. Only give this out at a high price or if there is trash in the discard pile. Their flagship has a badass sounding name, Repercussor Alpha, but much to my chagrin, it isn't very badass in the game. It costs 8, rolls 9 times 2, moves 1, and has a capacity of 6. Its abilities are sustain damage, and after you win a combat in the system, you may take one of your opponent's action cards at random. The capacity of 6 to carry your unholy abominations around is nice, and I suppose the ability is decent, but I'd rather have a flagship that hits on 5 times 2, or at least 7 times 2. You can get 8 capacity with 2 carriers for cheaper, and you would still be rolling the 2 9s. Players will just use their good action cards before you predictably attack them with your flagship. Hey, it's certainly one of a kind, I'll give it that much. Unique, if nothing else. They have a mixed bag start. They have 1 planet. It's a 3/1 planet called Cymiae. Their starting units are 1 carrier, 1 destroyer, 1 dreadnought, 2 fighters, 3 infantry, and 1 space dock. You have 3 infantry and 3 total capacity, so you can expand in 2 directions at least. 3 infantry isn't much, so you need to build or place down 7 more to unlock your commander. You can have a slow start or a fast start if the action card RNG is in your favor. They also start with 2 techs, AI Dev Algorithm Red, which is a beautiful tech to start with, and Neural Motivator Green, which is of course an ideal starting tech for them. You can just research Unholy Abomination 2 as your first tech if you wish. They have a commodity count of 3. They're not leading the pack, but they're certainly not lagging behind either. Alright, let's discuss the Savages' first round, general strategy, and objectives. Politics is a card you can draw frequently. Picking first benefits you because of your recursive worm faction tech, and the action card component allows you to place down infantry or just draw a lot of action cards. Warfare would be the second best choice, simply to spread out fast. If you want to rush Mechanol Rex, I wouldn't hold it against you one bit. Just stack as many infantry as possible on the planet. If any faction can lock down Mechanol on the ground, it's these savage apes. Not exactly subtle, but sometimes subtlety is overrated. It's definitely worth a try. Once you get past the first turn, being able to use action cards twice will give you quite a boost. This is of course dependent on luck. Action cards and infantry are an odd pairing, but one that can be surprisingly effective at times. Let's just hope you don't draw the political censure agenda. Nothing brings the Yssaril tribes and the Savages of Cymiae together like their shared hatred for this little gem. The Savages are well suited for scoring the following objectives: develop weaponry, expand borders, diversify research, push boundaries, rule distant lands, and revolutionize warfare. Here is the tech path I would follow: Sarween Tools, Unholy Abomination 2, Recursive Worm, Transit Diodes, and Integrated Economy. Obviously, if any unit upgrade objectives pop up, then change your tech path and research them. The yellow path suits these guys quite well. Sarween Tools is essential for them to produce infantry at an expedited rate. Transit Diodes allows them to get a formidable ground force on any planet you manage to take, and is just useful for them all around. Integrated economy is perfect for the late game, allowing you to build more infantry with every planet you take. It's worth noting that you may be able to get the Focused Research action card, which you can use twice to get 2 additional techs. If you have a blue tech skip, I wouldn't blame you for researching Gravity Drive. However, the Savages are the kings of the ground, not space, so act accordingly. In conclusion, you don't have to be an evil genius like Gorilla Grodd to win with these apes, but their unusual playstyle and kit synergy opens up the door for a lot of possibilities. And it'll force you and the other players to adjust accordingly. In terms of their objective strength, I would rank them as a low C tier. Their recursive worm faction tech keeps them out of the D or F tiers. Being reliant on randomness from action cards is both a strength and a weakness. If you get the right action cards at the right times, you're in for smooth sailing. If not, then your terrible luck will drive you bananas the entire game. I plan to highlight more of my favorite factions from Discordant Stars, so stay tuned. Anyway, I gotta peel out. So thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.